And with regard to opioids, I would just say, you know, as we're having this hearing today, as you know, the House is considering legislation that is not as comprehensive as the legislation that passed the United States Senate on March 10th. And one of the issues that needs to be strengthened, in my view, is on the prevention side, as you said, and specifically this issue of an awareness campaign as to the link between the prescription drugs, the narcotic pain pills, and the current heroin and prescription drug epidemic. 4 out of 5 heroin addicts who will overdose today, and one is dying every 12 minutes on average, will have started with prescription drugs, as you know from your previous experience. And I appreciate your coming to Southern Ohio, and we were seeing the tip of the iceberg, it turned out. It's only grown since then, although the pill mills have been largely shut down in that part of the country, thanks to some of the work that you helped me do to get the high-intensity drug trafficking area there in Adams County and Sauter County. But the heroin has come in as a less expensive, more accessible alternative, and the results are devastating, as you know. We did have a hearing on this, and we learned that one of the unfortunate realities is that fentanyl, which is, as you know, a synthetic heroin, sometimes 50 times stronger, is being laced with heroin and is causing increasing deaths, particularly in my state of Ohio. We may lead the nation in fentanyl overdoses, which is tragic, but it's coming in from China, primarily by the mail, as you indicated, often to the United States, and then being transshipped to Mexico, and then brought back in combination with sometimes heroin made to look sometimes like a prescription drug. And that's precisely what's happening in my home state. And it is something where we need to do more, as you said. And I wonder if you could elaborate a little more on that in terms of what you could do at Customs Border Patrol to be able to stop this influx of heroin over the border. We believe that the vast majority is coming over the southern border. And then specifically with regard to fentanyl, which is, again, the synthetic, which, as you say, is often in the U.S. mail system. But what more could you do, and what resources do you need to be able to do a better job on keeping this poison from coming into our country?
I think the fentanyl issue is one that is really, we're only seeing and understand the tip of the iceberg. As you know from state medical examiner information, oftentimes overdoses are not always tested for fentanyl. So I'm not, we don't always know whether it's an opioid prescription drug, whether it was heroin, or whether it was fentanyl because of the testing. We don't have preliminary test kits for fentanyl like we do for heroin or cocaine, so that makes it a little bit difficult. The other concern, the great concern, is that the incredible danger to somebody that actually comes across the fentanyl, like one of our Customs and Border Protection officers, because of the absorption through the skin, which can lead to fatalities. We also don't know about the legitimate fentanyl that is used as painkillers in hospitals, nursing homes, etc. How much is the diversion coming from them? But I think that that it's very safe to say that the vast majority of the fentanyl is coming into the United States across our borders, not the diversion from hospitals, although that could be a source. So I think test kits, I think better information, but I also think the negotiation with the countries where it's being produced. We saw some success a couple years ago on the synthetic drugs that were coming in from China and then being made, sprayed on grass and other things to be able to use and smoke, that caused pretty significant devastation. China did assist us in reducing that problem by doing a better job of export control, and I think we're going to need that clearly when it comes to fentanyl.
Are you doing that currently with regard to your relationship with these countries, whether it's China or other countries that are a source of some of these synthetic drugs that are being shipped across continents? Are you currently engaged in that?
I am not, and CBP is not as much as the Department of State and INL, but our attachés in the other countries know that this is also a significant issue. So that whole of government approach on dealing with this, which was somewhat successful on synthetics, may have some opportunities. I will be talking with the Department of State, INL, and be happy to share back with you exactly what is going on.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, and I do think, given your background on the issue of substance abuse and your background in law enforcement, that you have a particular strength here, and CBP has a particular expertise to be able to share with some of these countries, as compared to INL, frankly. And so I would hope you would get personally engaged, and if you could give me some indication of what they are doing currently and how you all could be more involved, I think that would be very helpful. I mean, we have a crisis. It's an epidemic. It is something that requires all hands on deck, and I think CBP has a huge role to play. Having said that, as you say, prevention, treatment, recovery also needs to be strengthened, which is what this legislation that passed the Senate provides. And the legislation passing the House today, there'll be several bills that will be helpful. And we would appreciate your continued advocacy within the administration for getting something done on this issue so that Congress can be a better partner with state and local governments and the nonprofits who are out there fighting this fight every single day. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner, for being here today. Appreciate everybody's participation.